I'm honored to introduce today's convocation speaker, the 10th President of SMU, Dr. R. Gerald Turner. A native of Texas, he received his bachelor's degree from Abilene Christian University and his master's and PhD from the University of Texas at Austin. After leaving Austin, he served on the faculty and administration of Pepperdine University and the University of Oklahoma before becoming chancellor of the University of Mississippi at the age of 38, making him at the time one of the youngest university leaders in the United States. He became president of SMU in 1995 and is the longest continuously serving president in SMU history, with good reason. For example, under his leadership, student quality has dramatically improved, measured by a near tripling of applications and a 175-point increase in SAT scores. SMU is now ranked in the top 20% of all U.S. colleges and universities. Among the new facilities built during this era is the George W. Bush Presidential Center, which brought the 5 serving U.S. presidents to campus for its dedication in 2013 and continues to draw international leaders to the hilltop. Dr. Turner has led the strategic planning and fundraising campaigns that have added scholarships, academic programs, and centers, in addition to many new facilities we enjoy. The most recent campaign for the second century raised $1.15 billion, making SMU the 35th private university to conduct a $1 billion campaign. Please join me in greeting our 103rd commencement speaker, President R. Gerald Turner.
Thank you, Steve. Students, lesson number 1. If you want to get a good introduction, either have a family member or an employee give it. It's a pretty good way to make sure you get a good introduction, and I appreciate it. So far, students, in your short time, you've passed several milestones. You came here for Aero in the summer. Move-in day was earlier this week. Chorale, you've just come back from it. Convocation, right now. And then, of course, the last and most important one is tomorrow, the first day of class, when you begin your path to your college degree. And for our first-year students, the 4 years go very quickly, so make the most of that time. By the way, your parents expect you to graduate in that 4-year time frame. If you have other plans to extend that period of time, I really am not willing to advise you on whether you tell them that now or you break the news later on. It really is up to you. But those of you who are transfers, and we have about 300 transfers each year among our students here for the first time, it will also go quickly for you. But for all of you, it's a great time in your life, and we're delighted that you're going to be living it here on the SMU campus. I also look forward to greeting you in the dining commons. At least once a month, I'll join SMU's Vice President for Student Affairs, Casey Maget, and walk around the dining area at lunch and have a meal at a table with students. That way, we get to know you better, have a good opportunity to talk with you. And also, as best I can tell, it also helps in the spiritual development of the students that attend the dining commons and eat at the dining commons. And the reason I believe it helps their spiritual development, occasionally as I'm approaching a table, I hear a hushed voice say, "Oh God, don't let him sit with us." But if I do, you'll survive like everybody else has over time. We've recently completed, as was mentioned, the centennial of our founding in 2011 and our opening in 2015. As you joyfully begin your career here on the SMU campus, the first-year class of 1917 gathered 4 months after the United States officially entered World War I, and a draft for military service was implemented just a couple of months before they entered SMU. As you would expect, many students were either drafted or they enlisted. Unfortunately, there were 11 SMU students who left the campus and never returned, perishing in service to our country. There's a memorial to them donated by the senior class of 1924 that you may not yet have noticed. It's on the southeast corner of Hillcrest and University Boulevard, just west of Perkins Administration Building, which is the building that is right north of this one. And as a result, you can see it in the corner of this memorial, and there are usually small American flags around it that a neighbor puts in on a regular basis as a dedication to these individuals who sacrificed once they left the SMU campus. When SMU opened in 1915, the population of Dallas, believe it or not, was about 125,000. Now the Dallas Metroplex region has over 7 million. The SMU was founded by the mutual interest of what's now the United Methodist Church and the business and civic leaders of Dallas. Most of the students at that time were from Texas, really surrounding the Dallas area. Today, the total student body is shaped to consist of approximately overall 50% from Texas and 50% from out of state. And I should add that the 50% of us who are of native Texans hope that some of you from out of state will very quickly lose your very noticeable accents. But during your time on campus, you'll be able to avail yourselves of the incredible learning opportunities that life in Dallas and on this campus provides. Your predecessors have laid the path to where employers here in Dallas and around the country expect you to have the skills to interact with people, to have internships and other kinds of out-of-classroom experiences and opportunities that are unique to being in a major dynamic city like Dallas. These expectations are consistent with our branding statement, World Changers Shaped Here, which I know you have seen on practically all of our printed materials. Every theme and every word in that statement was carefully debated and chosen from a list of alternatives. Ultimately, the most discussed word in that whole statement was the word shaped. Although the faculty overseeing the academic curriculum you will follow provide the major part of the shaping, it also results from your own personality, but the friends you make, your experiences from residing in a commons, the practical knowledge gained from your internships within the city of Dallas, and the intellectual stimulation and impact of the many renowned scholars and world leaders that you'll be able to hear during your time here. As a result, much of the shaping is a byproduct of the living, learning environment that together we created SMU. As a part of this shaping process during your time here, there are several very fundamental skills that we hope you'll develop or augment that are very important beyond those within your academic major. Like most fundamental skills, they may go unappreciated and often stay under the radar, but yet they will dramatically affect your success and your ability to be a world changer on a very small stage or on a very large one. The first of these skills is communication skills. One of the strong but unrecognized glass ceilings that some people place on themselves is their limitation in communication skills. The most often complaint I hear from employers, and you can read it all around the country, about college students is they do not have adequate writing or composition skills. If you can write, speak, and compute well and accurately, you will have such an advantage over the multitudes who do not. I can tell you that during my career, I've had to turn down applicants for high-level administrative positions just because of their limited communication skills, particularly in samples of writing that they submitted. If you don't write or compose well, or if you can't write logically and in a convincing way, it will haunt you throughout your career. One of the great blessings of my college experience was that I had several professors who took the time to ink up my papers. As you can imagine, I was frustrated at the time, but their efforts have really blessed my life. I can hear some of them telling me what it was that I had put together incorrectly. If you need to improve, and the faculty will let you know it, don't ignore it. Seek help at the Altshuler Learning Enhancement Center. Learn from the red ink. Red ink is your friend as long as you see less and less of it over the semester. So take your discernment and discourse classes seriously, and also take classes in history, philosophy, political science, English, religious studies, and other areas where you have to express yourself verbally and in writing. Make yourself do it. Number 2, the second foundational area of knowledge I'd urge you to enhance while you're here is your ability to recognize ethical conflicts and be able to discuss and act on the should, the ought, or the right. The lack of a moral campus undermines the quality of life for many people and certainly lowers the trust factor that people feel for them. You want to be able to trust your friends that you make here and your future spouse. In turn, they, your family, your faculty, and your future employer will want to be able to trust you. Any person who eventually reports to you will want to trust you as a person of integrity, and we do intend to train you as leaders. There will be people reporting to you. Part of the shaping anticipated in our brand of world leaders shaped here is that our students will strengthen their skills to be compassionate, ethical people of integrity. The news is replete with successful people who've taken a great fall due to their not recognizing ethical issues or simply ignoring them. When students leave a particular college with a suspension or dismissal for cheating on a test or plagiarizing a report, they operate under a cloud and find a much reduced list of options for completing their degree. We have an ethical component in our university curriculum, and I urge you to delve deeply into the questions that are raised. These are some of humanity's most interesting and challenging issues, and always have been. Questions regarding the whys of life are often much more interesting than the whats. Take your ethical courses seriously. Number 3, cultural intelligence skills. All of us have been shocked and appalled by the recent events at the University of Virginia and the city of Charlottesville that resulted in violence and the loss of life. The invasion of alt-right groups expressing hatred, racist, anti-Semitic sentiments was outrageous. Such hatred and violence are diametrically opposed to the values of our university and any university that promotes openness, respect for others, and the discussion and debate of ideas in an atmosphere of civility. Should such a curse arrive at our door, we'll deal with it. But the most effective long-term approach to confronting such hateful and destructive movements is to strengthen our sense of community, to get to know more clearly those around us who make up our world. It's much easier to objectify and dehumanize those that are different from us if we are totally unfamiliar with them as fellow human beings. This lack of cultural intelligence limits our growth individually and will certainly hinder our success in a world based not on any identifiable or identity markers, but based primarily upon ability, preparedness, talent, and skills. Therefore, the third skill that we hope you'll develop involves this cultural intelligence. A defining characteristic of graduates at SMU has always been their ability to interact successfully with people. And now that's stretched to be sure that it's people of all backgrounds. Our graduates are already known for these skills. Therefore, to expand this ability to work with people from all races, all nationalities, all political ideologies, socioeconomic backgrounds, and religions will be a special value added to your education here, a unique skill that will serve you well. We are calling this critical value cultural intelligence, which is defined, as I said, as having the skills to function and manage effectively in culturally diverse settings. It means gaining the information that will help you create and collaborate with people, whether they're from Dubai, Detroit, or Des Moines. The class of 2021 is composed of 26% of students from diversity minority backgrounds. And among our transfers, that number is 41%. We also have students representing 90 different countries. When you consider this alongside the geographical distinctions between our students who literally go from California to the Northeast to Florida and up to the Midwest, then it's a fertile field for gaining and increasing our cultural intelligence. This fall, we'll be launching CIQ, Cultural Intelligence, at SMU, under the leadership of Dr. Maria Dixon Hall. CIQ at SMU is the informational programmatic core that will make cultural intelligence a practical part of living and learning on campus, whether it's in the classroom, sorority, fraternity house, residential hall, or athletic field. It becomes a differentiating standard of what it means truly to be a Mustang, cultural intelligence. The fourth, skills in maintaining civility and freedom of speech. Because all Mustangs are valued, we should be able to discuss, debate, agree, and disagree with each other in a context of civil discourse. In a world that certainly shows it can be contentious and where polar opposite views on practically every economic and political issue exist, the university has always been a site where differences of opinion can be presented and debated. Not all opinions are equally valid, but after discourse and debate, the values of ideas usually rise or fall to their appropriate level over time. And freedom of speech has always been recognized as an absolute cornerstone of a democratic society. Because of this fundamental role, any restrictions have always followed intensive review by the Supreme Court of the United States or its equivalent in other democracies. The ability to articulate and defend one's ideas while recognizing and respecting other points of view is an important component of shaping world leaders. During these intense times of differences of opinion in our country, our university community has been able to discuss and debate these differences in the kind of unique environment that a university is charged to provide. A great example of this is working out resolutions regarding political or social displays between administration and student leaders based upon discourse and discussion. So I urge the class of 2021, join your predecessors in preserving these opportunities for yourself and for classes yet to come. No matter what happens from external people either invading us or influencing us by their activities, members of the university community ought to treat each other with respect and ought to be able to discuss with each other differences of opinion. Number 5, last one, relational skills. More than any time in our country's history, you need to establish carefully the guidelines for romantic and sexual relationships that reflect your own religious and moral values informed by the evolving legal standards of sexual relationships. I know you had a program on this yesterday. This evolution is somewhat the fallout of the sexual revolution during the 60s and 70s. Yes, students, the generation of your G-Dad and Nana or Meemaw and Pawpaw were the hip dudes and chicks of that era. The last few years have seen a continuing list of state and federal laws trying to address campus and judicial issues surrounding sexual misconduct and assault. At a time in which some people would like to reduce sexual experience to just another skill-based activity, it's become increasingly clear that for many, the emotional and physical cost of such a cavalier approach is high, and that sexual assault and sexual exploitation occurs more often than was heretofore acknowledged. In 1915, when SMU opened the men's and the women's dorms, you can picture the dorms then as separated not only by distance, but probably also by electrically charged barbed wire with a deep moat surrounding the women's dorm teeming with alligators. The pendulum of social mores has swung back forcefully, and many would say way too far, from this extreme to what may be viewed as another. But a frivolous attitude regarding consent for sexual relations and an unwillingness to recognize the legal impossibility of an intoxicated person, 0.08 level or greater, that's 4 ounces of wine, 8 ounces of beer for most, that person giving consent, plus disinterest in the rights and health of others, can get you into situations with outcomes that will follow you for many years to come. For many of those that initiate this kind of activity, you'll be completing your college degree somewhere else. Become skillful at taking personal responsibility for your own actions and developing friends who will accept mutual responsibility for themselves and for you and for the safety of others. These approaches are critical for healthy relationships in densely populated areas like college campuses. Therefore, be wise. Expand your worldview. Accept that all Mustangs are valued so that you will be able to treat each other with the respect each and every one of you is due. So in concluding, as we approach the start of the semester tomorrow, I have absolutely no concern about whether or not you'll get a state-of-the-art education in whatever major you follow. You will. It is obviously the responsibility of the faculty and the administration to make sure that's true, but I'll know you'll find it is true if you do your part. While you're both doing well and enjoying your time here, I urge you again to make sure that you avail yourselves of the opportunities to strengthen any weakness or misunderstanding you have in these 5 fundamental skills: communication, ethical decision-making, cultural intelligence, maintenance of civility and freedom of speech, and responsible relationships. After you leave SMU, you won't have as much time to work on these skills as you do now. If SMU graduates continue to exhibit these fundamental skills, as well as the strong academic preparation you're going to get, SMU will have another great century, and world changers will continue to be shaped here. It's a great time to be at SMU. It's a great time for you to be in Dallas. We look forward to beginning officially your request with you tomorrow morning. So set your alarm to ring loudly so that you will be ready for your first day of class, and particularly be ready to pony up. Welcome to the SMU community.